time I started doing real estate, looking at the pain and distrust in the sector, I've been interacting with so many bodies, buyers associations, Fight for RERA group, and interacting with the ministry very closely with Mr. Venkaiah Naidu himself, saw the passion with which he pushed it to make it happen. It's caused a havoc in the industry. We all know that. We cannot ignore that aspect of it. Developers may say, some developers could just go and register in Maharashtra on the day the RERA website came up, but a majority of them are 5 days for RERA to go, they're still not ready to apply. So a lot of confusion, but I think this is one of the benchmark changes which have happened in the country, amazing for the industry, and I'm going to do a discussion, a deeper discussion on it for you to understand as a buyer, what are your rights under RERA, how do you really use RERA to your advantage to now make the right bets with real estate. And for that panel, let me invite on stage Angelo Rajesh, Chairman St. Angelo's VNCT Ventures, also Avikshit Moral, Partner at Juris Corp and a specialist in RERA, Harsh Rungta, CEO of apnapaisa.com, of course an old friend of mine as well because we both started, or no, he started a little bit ahead of me and I followed in terms of our journey on financial literacy, and Amit Bhagat, CEO and MD of ASK Property Investments, advisors to give us and the perspective on what are they making of RERA. Amit, good to have you. As we speak, so let's start the story with demonetization, I think, because that's also an interesting aspect we tend to gloss over in our discussion. Amit, the first, everybody, including the Prime Minister's own Facebook page, was put up and it said on the night of demonetization, I got a frantic call from my channel and which said, come back right now. Why? Because this has happened. We knew it was happening because real estate is going to get impacted the most. We had Mr. Modi's Facebook page said the asset classes which will go down, real estate will be hard hit. It hasn't really panned out in the way that we expected it. I mean, we didn't see a major meltdown of any sorts. What is the story of demonetization? What really happened? Because you deal with developers, with land, with finished projects, products, everything.
So either it was money of the self-employed people which was being parked in a safe haven because this was supposed to be the best parking place, this asset class, or of the politicians or bureaucrats. The demonetization actually took away the land prices, the fizz in the land prices. Land is always transacted in cash. Look at the segments of real estate where cash was more used. Land. Second is when you strata sell a retail or a commercial, luxury and resale. These are segments of real estate which were impacted far more because of demonetization. But
the primary market of organized developers wasn't.
So any developer who was targeting mid-market segment in the job corridors and he was selling by all check in the IT dominated or financial services dominated market was not impacted at all because he was not focusing in that particular segment.
All right. Mr. Angelo Rajesh, tell me, what was your own experience of demonetization as a developer who's just got into this segment, I mean, been there for a while, but really in a big way to create affordable housing stock all across the country. What was your own experience during that demonetization phase and that nervousness which was there?
Well, I will consider that demonetization is a boon for houses at the right prices because initially the landlords were all expecting better prices in which a large component of cash was involved. Like my colleague just spoke about it. The advantage is now the exit for any landlord is only through development and the revenues that come in his share. So practical transactions have started happening since demonetization. There is nobody who has got the cash to buy the land. So a lot of joint ventures are happening. And I feel that housing to get economical and affordable in this country, it is very clearly understood by all that the land should be at the right price. The expectations of the landlords because of cash transactions involved was so high that the ultimate product was becoming more expensive.
Right.
It is not the construction cost which makes the product expensive. It is the land cost which makes it expensive. So I think demonetization has been a boon, and you will see now a lot of development has started. And again, it is a supply and demand game. If the supply of houses is really good, then definitely the prices get corrected. And that is what people are getting today. They are getting to buy real estate at the realistic prices. At the same time, demonetization is making the government stronger. The government is now going to be using this money to build some fantastic infrastructure across the country. And according to me and economics, investments in the society is money to the people. And this money is being used to buy houses by the same people. So I think it's a fantastic thing to happen to India as a country.
All right. So a real estate developer saying that this is the best thing which could have happened. Harshunta, would you agree that now, I mean, there might have been a short-term impact on resale, land prices have come down, which is, I think, the biggest benefit for everybody in affordable housing. Do you think that now that the cash economy is gone, going forward, it's a far more realistic picture that you will see in terms of real estate prices going up or down?
I think as far as consumers are concerned, why would they worry about? I mean, most consumers don't care, right? I mean, how many consumers who actually buy these houses have cash, even when they are forced to pay cash because of the way the industry is structured? They actually withdraw money from a bank account and actually converting white money into unaccounted money. So very clearly, as far as consumers are concerned, it's a great thing that I think cash is no longer required. In fact, to a great extent, it had already happened. I think economics had already driven, as Amit mentioned, in the job corridors, etc. I mean, if you are a salaried person, you didn't have cash. I think going forward, clearly, a lot of things are going to happen. Very clearly, demonetization, of course, is just one part. I mean, a lot of other big things that are there, the Benami Property Prohibition Act, so many other things that are there. I mean, we're going to change, we're going to see changes even in the actual implementation of the rental. I mean, the confidence, the fact that you can get back your property is already there. If you give it out on rent, I think that will improve as things go forward. I think a lot of those things is going to keep a lid and keep the prices reasonable. And I think the push clearly is there from the government, at least as far as homes are concerned. So clearly the government, as far as the government is concerned, they don't want consumers to buy two houses, right? They want every consumer to buy their own house. I think as far as that is concerned, I think that really is going to be the big push.
So then let's come to all that has happened, and so much has happened which affects real estate, isn't it? So there was demonetization, which took away the landowners' expectations on cash. Some amount of resale was happening, which was in cash, Avikshit. But more importantly, RERA. I mean, you've been following, you're a specialist in RERA. Tell us what has really been three biggest impacts of bringing RERA Act into this country.
So, before dealing with RERA, what actually I wanted to discuss was about the earlier acts that we had. So generally the feeling that people are left with that prior to RERA coming in, it was like consumers were like orphans, that they virtually had no respite or they had nothing to go back to. But that's not the case actually. The reason I'm going back slightly is because this is linked with RERA. Now, effectively what had happened is in the previous regimes of the laws that we had, the law was strict. There was provisions where things could be done and results could be obtained, but at times I felt that the person at the hem of things did not do the things that were required to be done. Like I heard the panelists talking just before us, and they were very clear about the fact that diligence is a very important part. So I realized that by the time a person would approach me for something, and if I am supposed to advise him, the matter is actually lost by the time he comes to me, because the general trails that are required to be created, or the kind of compromises that is not supposed to be done by him, has already been done, and I'm laden with a very weak case. And eventually what we do is end up blaming the courts, or we end up blaming the system, saying that it's very slow, which is not the case. Anyways, with regards RERA, one of the most important things that we are trying to achieve here, I don't know how much have we been able to do it, but we're trying to get in transparency in the system. Having said that, you'll see now when you go to the MahaRERA website, it's one of the better websites among the country. So you have a lot of information which is available now. A buyer basically, before he buys a property or an asset, he can actually go to the website, he can pull out all details that's there.
Absolutely.
Now, having said that, the important question is, am I able to make out something out of that information? That's the crucial question. You have the information, but are you able to decipher what that information is trying to indicate or trying to tell you is what we need to be mindful of. Now, the reason I'm telling this is in the past when we had approached a court, the courts were always lenient towards buyers because they understand the situation and they realized that buyers didn't have privy to information. And we could take that benefit. But today, with all this information that is available to you, and if you have to approach a forum for any remedy, then taking a stand that, I'm sorry, I was not aware of this, and I didn't know about this, or there was misrepresentation or information not given to me properly, may not stand in a court of law. So that's the first thing. I think we were also trying to get uniformity as far as this law is concerned. Different states had different laws, and we're trying to get uniformity in RERA, but we've diluted that. You know the situation very well. Most of the states have come up with their own set of laws, as in, it's not absolutely different,
I
but
think any dilution of Vikshit, I've been studying this very regularly and closely on a daily basis, has been on that ongoing projects, isn't it?
Yes.
So ongoing projects, it's hard, it's a very, very tough call because a lot of developers who have not been, and Angelo, Rajesh, you might want to come in here, a lot of developers who were not professional, who were not used to running their ship in a tight manner, are, if you bring them under RERA today, it's a tough task for them to straighten their act, isn't it? So either you had those processes, or if you didn't have them, you were going to be in a soup if your project had to be RERA registered.
So in management, we always learned that consumer is the supreme. In real estate, it was not practically happening so. Thanks to RERA, it will now happen. In fact, I would like to say that what SEBI did to stock exchange, that is what RERA will do to the real estate. I would also like to say that RERA is the new TADA for the antisocial elements. So things are going to improve. A lot of buying is going to happen because of RERA being in place. A lot of people who were not doing it straight in their development sectors will need to get ironed out. Either they are going to be exiting the industry or they are going to be in trouble from the 1st of August. But what advantage the public gets at large is any RERA approved project is today good to buy. And RERA will make India as one of the best investment destinations of the world. The only element of challenge in the real estate sector was delivery on time or getting misled by the developer or getting cheated by the project. Now that won't happen. RERA is really bringing in a method to the madness, and the strictness that has been followed in the RERA will definitely help the consumer at large. And any industry today works only on the consumers. Today, with great confidence, the consumer will be in a position to buy. And I would like to say that RERA, the MahaRERA website, is a super billboard for every developer who's doing it right. Because when the customer goes to the website and when he sees and checks the details of the developer's project, it gives him confidence to buy. So in a way, the government is your testimonial to make sure that your project gets sold and consumers have the trust and buy in your project. So I think RERA is a big boon to the right players. RERA is a great boon for the consumers, and it's a 90-10 rule where 90% it is going to benefit the buyer and 10% it will support the developer, and that is how it should be.
All right. Well, the buyer did need a lot of support. Amit Bhagat, it's strange, isn't it, that everybody said that they want RERA, all developers said it, but then when it came to actually applying for it, like he said, and Gautam Chatterjee said that to me in his interview, he said, on 1st May, I had a developer who had registered his project. Yet now, and I interviewed him about a week ago, and the number was only 312 out of 15,000 ongoing projects. So it's a question of now the industry has absolutely no choice but to fall into line, to disclose everything. Earlier as a buyer, I had absolutely no idea whether if permissions were there for the project, if we just went with what the developer said. Now you can actually have a checklist. What sort of a checklist would you recommend that a buyer does have when he goes to the RERA website?
Even with RERA in place, I will strongly recommend that a customer should look at the track record of a developer while buying a unit.
Okay.
His approvals are in place, which was not a certainty earlier, because you could have bought on 32nd floor and then you may discover after 2 years that he has approvals to only build 28 floors,
yes,
which is not going to be a reality now. His approvals are there on the website and you can cross-verify that. Having said that, those approvals are not a certainty about the quality, timeline, amenities, experience which he will deliver to you. It is his brand, his previous track record. So the best way, which I have discovered, is go and join his Google group of his customers. We are an IT savvy world. When you go and join his Google groups, you actually come to know what are the deficiencies in his previous projects. So one is look at his track record, brand, the product which he's offering. If you're buying a luxury product, you have to take a risk actually, because luxury is not being sold in our country the way we thought it will be sold. If you're buying a mid-segment, his track record is adequate. And actually it's not a rocket science. If you examine any good developer of this country, who's a listed developer, you know, because it's a listed company, you can actually examine all his litigations also.
But I would beg to differ there, Amit Bhagat. Some of the branded players also delayed projects and, you know, they kept buyers in a limbo. It isn't that easy. It's not like every branded developer, and I can give you some very big names, the idea is not that. But you'll agree with me, Harsh, that irrespective of what you say, RERA does bring in the discipline because there was no fear. The industry had no fear. And also the industry was also, you know, approving, it was mired in graft from approval processes itself. It was everybody's making money sort of an industry, right? If politicians to anybody. I think everybody has now realized that, I'm sorry, but now there's no point in asking graft from the developer because he has none to give you now anymore, right? There is no room left.
I don't think the developers in the room are going to agree to that. But I think just look at the situation earlier, right? I mean, and I'm on record as saying that I think prior to RERA, you need to be careful about what you are buying. When you're buying under construction project, you're not buying real estate. You are getting into the lending business. You are lending money to the developer. So you better know the track record of the developer. You're not buying real estate. And you better get a great return on that. The risk that you are taking, zero liquidity. I mean, any investment is about risk, return and liquidity, right? Liquidity very poor, risk very high. So the return had to be high to compensate for that. I think what RERA does is evens it up a little bit, okay? It still is lending to the developer. I mean, you're still not buying real estate, but at least now you are sure, okay? And maybe it will take a couple of years before these things clear up, but no amount of politician, bureaucrat, developer nexus can now deny, a law being in place, can now deny adequate compensation for delayed property, you know, delayed delivery. Moment you do that, even the lending business is not that bad a business, because at that end of that business, you know you would get property. So I think the compensation, and I mean, forget about other promises, but the compensation by itself is a huge thing. Plus another big thing that RERA does is in an era of stagnating prices, right? The cancellation right that you have. See, when prices were rising, the cancellation is just a I mean, it's a paper right? I'm not going to cancel if my 1,000 rupee flat has become 2,500 rupees.
But isn't that negative? Isn't that penalizing the developer? This is like where in a stock market you buy a share and then if the prices are falling, so you can only sell in the market.
You can only cancel if he delays. You cannot cancel otherwise. I mean, I mean, the developer has not kept up his side of the bargain. So, I mean, he is letting, so the key issue is the chances that so now developers, when they are promising, okay, they keep a cushion. Where would they keep a cushion earlier? Now they will keep a cushion. Because they know if the prices remain stagnant, one, I will have to pay that 2% above MCLR or whatever that is. Plus, I mean, he can cancel if the prices are stagnant. Worse, prices have fallen. Okay, the buyer gets a chance to walk out of the project
if it is
with
delayed.
Interest, right? I mean, so if it is delayed, so very clearly, I think the consequences are now going to visit the developer. And I think there is a forced umpire. I mean, some of those umpires themselves are going to be biased, but the rules are very clear. And I think over time it will settle. And that will push so much end user confidence. That, I mean, the due diligence. Today, why do we see so many big ads saying funding by HDFC, funding by ICICI, funding by State Bank, funding by Ask Investment Advisors? I mean, why do you see that? Because they are adding credibility.
Right.
I think that credibility, as he mentioned, that credibility is going to be the RERA online site.
And simple things. What are you really getting in terms of carpet area? Really, I mean, this is a Mumbai-specific problem where 60% is non-carpet, not inside the walls of your house, to having a guarantee on the structure for 5 years, Avikshit, to even, you know, when you were, earlier you went to a developer sales office, he would say, you know what, I've sold 120 apartments, they're selling like hotcakes. And we've seen a lot of big Mumbai developers actually treat real estate like an IPO selling, create that hype. I don't want to take any names. Now, you can actually go onto a RERA website and see how many units of that particular project have actually been sold. So I'm saying the spectrum of transparency is quite detailed. As a buyer, if you want to take an informed decision now, you can actually spend that one day and say, okay, these are the 3 shortlisted projects. Now let me compare them carpet to carpet. What's there? What am I getting? What am I getting in terms of pricing on that carpet? What am I getting in terms of other amenities on that project, isn't it?
Yeah, so as far as RERA is concerned, this aspect, which is advertising, is been taken very seriously. Now, they have special provisions there in the Act where they've said that anything or any loss that has been sustained by people on account of misrepresentation or false advertisement. And advertisement is not a liability attached only to the promoter, but also to the agents. Now, this is a very small part of the real estate industry, but we forget them. Agents also play a very major role in the kind of expectations that is, you know, kind of given to us. So they have a very huge penalty for, forget anything, there's no delay, there's nothing that has happened, but there is some loss that you can prove that has occurred to you on account of some misrepresentation or faulty advertisement, like a racecourse view and suddenly a building comes in front of you. So technically there is no delay in the project, but you can still claim damages on account that, you know, there was this promised to me and I'm not getting it now. But just one thing I just wanted to clarify with regards registration. Now, there is a general understanding that if a project is registered, it's fine. Now, that is not the correct understanding. This has been clarified time and again. A project is registered means that a document has been submitted. It doesn't mean it is correct and legally valid and everything is proper. No, that's not the intention. So registration means he's complied with whatever documents were required to be uploaded in the website and he's done it properly. That's why he's got a registration. There is no technical scrutiny that is happening.
So are you saying that there is no extra comfort that you should get from a RERA registered project?
No, there is, of course. So the fact that a project is registered gives you the comfort that all requisite documents that are required to have a project up and running and to sell it are there for you to see.
And if there is a certain aspects of a project which have been promised to you, which I can go and check,
yes.
And if those are not met after 3 years, I have somewhere to go.
Yes, so the point I'm trying to make is it's not like an assurance that's coming in from the government saying that since I've given you...
No, there's no assurance,
yes.
But there is someone to, it's like SEBI, it's a regulatory body.
Yes.
That you have given a guarantee about certain things and you need to deliver
Stick
that
by
product.
It. And also you're assured a 90 days hearing wherein if there is any default that happens, the intention is to finish all the hearings within 90 days. So
okay.
that's a boon.
That's a boon. Earlier the court cases could go on. Angelo, Rajesh, is it very hard to comply with RERA? Is that the reason why we are seeing, you know, even in states like Maharashtra, most developers pushing it to the last minute?
Well, people who have just done a project in any format, for them it is very difficult. So now, unsold stock in the market will have 2 categories. There will be one unsold stock which can be sold because it is RERA registered, and there will be a one unsold stock which even if the developer wants to sell and the buyer wants to buy, it cannot be into a transaction.
Correct.
Because it will not be RERA approved. So automatically the market because of RERA for the right builders is going to grow very large instantly.
Yeah.
There will be short supply of projects which have got the clearances in place which will ensure that the purchase of the purchaser is protected. A lot of developers, unfortunately, in a place like Maharashtra, like you some time back said, very few people have yet registered. But what I feel is that the government has taken a very serious stand of making sure that the implementation is going to happen from the 1st of August. So it's really a game changer. I would like to say that in India, because of RERA, this is the fresh new second innings for the real estate sector. Right. And only players with the right attitude and the right integrity will survive, sustain and grow in this industry. So I think this is an opportunity time for the right players, and of course the wrong ones will really be taken to task by the government.
How much consolidation are you expecting in the industry? I know a lot of it is already happening. I mean, all of those people with ambitions of becoming developers just because they had land is gone. But how much more lies ahead?
I think much more to follow.
Much more to follow?
Because see, if you look at intent, competence, governance, disclosure standards, cost optimization, customer centricity, everything has to follow.
Okay.
In the past, developers thought one-way cycle, if I get an approval, my project gets re-rated, customer has no recourse, I can delay as much as I want. It brings in financial discipline, governance and disclosure standard, and customer centricity at the same time. And that is why, I think I agree with your point which you said, that it's not only a registration is not enough. And that is why track record.
It brings in the discipline. I think that's an important part.
Discipline is the most important because you are not allowed to divert money from one project to another. But at the same time, it is just not the registration. The track record of timely completion, quality of amenities, experience of a customer, facility management, post-delivery, all that is brand. So please look into it before buying a project.
For the first time, in fact, when I saw your article that, look, you have now this freedom of actually taking money from your employees' provident fund and buying your home, did you write it because of RERA? Did you say, did that give you an extra confidence now that, you're drawing out your EPF money, it's with RERA coming in, there's an extra comfort?
So I think as far as buying your own home is concerned, and especially, I've written it, it's in today's business standard, it's in the context of below 50 lakh homes. Clearly, the impact of 3 negative factors isn't as negative. In fact, it could be positive, whether it is demonetization, whether it is the GST. And the 2 positive factors, especially for the sub 50 lakhs. One is this withdrawability of PF. That's a big one. I mean, just for, for those people who haven't looked at it, I'm sure all of you probably have looked at it. EPFO has 9 lakh crores, okay, funds under management. On paper, there are withdrawability for buying houses.
Right.
How many people have withdrawn? 0.25% people have withdrawn. Because the way those rules are structured, there is a joker in the pact that doesn't allow that withdrawal to happen.
Correct.
Why are the jokers in the pact kept? Because if you withdraw from EPF,
government doesn't get
the trustee, I forget the government, but the trustees, those who manage, where is the power? The power comes from managing 9 lakh crores. Right. Now, if that is going to be withdrawn and invested with the developers community, okay, even though it addresses the Prime Minister's need for housing for all by 2022, even then their power is going away. So it's really attacking their power center. The smarter developers have already started. I mean, I'm sure you have received those emails saying, PF withdrawable is possible. Plus the PMAY. I mean, the Prime Minister's Awas Yojana.
Plus CLSS. This year you have 1,000 crores coming in for just interest subsidy as well.
Absolutely.
All right. I've been sent a note saying that we need to conclude. So we're going to conclude. But I think I'm going to take the essence of all that you've spoken. I feel, because I've been on the buyer side on this one and I've been lobbying for RERA for the longest time, my entire 5 years of doing real estate, I have really pushed the ministry in Delhi, and I'm so glad that before Mr. Venkaiah Naidu was pulled out of that ministry, he made it his personal ambition to get RERA done. In fact, just 2 days ago, I was sitting with Additional Secretary Housing and I said, sir, the count is only 22. He said, Arey, only 22 na? Chalo, phone lagao. He actually called principal secretaries or the housing secretaries of 4 states and told them, and the next day we saw Puducherry notifying rules. So that's the kind of commitment that we saw, and I am very happy. I feel that it's going to do wonders for the real estate industry, and if implemented rightly, it will really restore buyer confidence. Because even if you've delivered 1 lakh houses in a month rightly, but you have defaulted on 10,000, that 10,000 is too large a number. that 10% of somebody's life savings not coming back to them is too large a number. So once we get over that hump, I think the industry has much better days ahead. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Anybody with a question? Yes.
Yeah, if you look at the real estate right now, as the aerial view, there are different elements involved, like from developers to financial institutions to customers to, the real estate agents and the financial institutions. There is one element which is the media. So is my question to you, Rajesh, that do you think that media is also changing the stance towards the developers, or it still keeps continuing with the bashing of all the developers?
Well, government has done the media's job. The media doesn't have to bash the developers anymore. RERA will do the job, and RERA will do it much better. So I think RERA is a game changer. And we welcome the move. It is phenomenal. This country will change because of RERA, and people are really going to be very comfortable in their property purchases.
I'm so glad. I get bashed at every conference. This is media. This is media's doing. I'm glad to hear it's not us.
I want to ask about RERA. I'm Mr. Kishore Khapia. We are in developing plots in certain areas of Maharashtra. I want to just ask about RERA will be impact on plotting business, because we are just seeing the technique.
Please take that question. Yes.
It does. It basically impacts everything that you're trying to sell. As long as you're going to the market and you're trying to sell something, even plots are getting covered. Whether you're selling it freehold or you're selling it leasehold, you're getting hit. So you have to do the compliance.
Okay,
Except I think agricultural plots.
That's not being...
Yes, last question. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi. With so many projects not being registered, what do you think will happen to the people who have bought in those projects?
No, see, I'll tell you something. This is going on since long, that many projects have not been registered and all. And it's
There's still 5 days to go, Vikshit.
There's still 5 days to go.
Yes,
Trust me, and we are working very hard.
But only in Maharashtra. Other places, it will not happen.
It will not.
The
No,
numbers
but,
will deadline.
but we'll have to give them the benefit, because the rules have also come out really late.
Yeah,
we started really early. But as far as your question is concerned, I think there's some bit of problem as far as Mumbai. Let me take Mumbai's example. There's some bit of problem in Mumbai because of this entire OC thing that's there, which is the cutoff for, which basically is the litmus test whether you need to register or not. Now the problem was we have so many buildings in Maharashtra which is like 30 years old who doesn't have an OC. So there's no point of them basically complying with
Yeah, but they have made an exemption for buildings that are occupied. I'm talking about incomplete projects.
Trust me, there are many buildings which are new, doesn't have a OC and are being occupied. Maybe completed a year back. So, but to answer your question directly, this is a breach of the requirement under the Act. But for the next 30 days, that is the next month, you won't see too much happening. It's only from the completion of 1 month, because they'll get seriously into scrutiny of the projects.
Yes.
Post that, you can file a complaint. And there is an online possibility also of filing a complaint. So you can do that, and I'm sure you'll get results.
See, I had a chat with somebody in the housing department. The whole purpose of RERA is to protect the consumer interest.
Yes.
If there is a default, they are looking at giving that project to another developer. They'll kind of either seize the project, whatever. I think there's no clarity at their end as well. But I think you'd agree that most projects are drained of all the funds. Either they've been diverted, they've been overspent, or the delay has sucked it out. So if there's no juice in the project and the government is not going to put any money into the project, then where does that leave the consumer?
No, see, it's not exactly that the government, they have actually factored this point. They had actually factored this point. There is a committee that was supposed to be set up with regards to the financial requirements. I am not sure it's been started as of yet. That's yet to be done. But otherwise, there is not too many projects which have been juiced out and there's nothing left in the project. That obligation is there. And remember, the fear of being, humiliated, and also your brand name. So everyone today in the market is not like carefree, ki chalega kuch bhi hone do, I don't care. It's not like that. People are worried. I know the developers who are there, they are worried and they are very particular. The delay is happening because they want to be, it's a wait and watch game. He sees his project being uploaded and he said, isne to aisa likh diya. I think I should also register tomorrow. Let me also add this new thing. So the intention is there. And as far as the requirement and the capacity to deal with these kind of problems that you're setting out, that is the OC has not come and other things, it's very well there in the system. It will be taken care of. That I can assure you.
So in my conversation with Gautam Chatterjee, he said, after 31st July, even if a crow comes and tells me that there is a project which is ongoing, but I do not, that it has not been registered, that company will get fined 10% of the project cost.
I saw
it. It is not that easy. And the other thing is that we know, I mean, we will break this on our channel tomorrow. There are now, and none of these private equity guys will give us the inside scoops, but I can share a few with you. There are some companies which have gone into financial distress who have stuck projects. They are already talking to other developers who have some financial bandwidth left to take over the projects. If not all of them, but some of the projects along with some free parcels of land that they own, so to get them completed because they don't have a choice. So it may take time. I mean, there are very few which are completely bankrupt and are looking to flee the country and to safer destinations like Dubai, yet their stocks are doing extremely well in the markets. London. I don't know why.
But on that count, Manisha, if they're going to fine the developer 10% of project cost, a project which is already stuck, and the government's going to take away 10% in the first go for non-registration, isn't that sucking the project more?
You know, that won't happen, yes, but go ahead.
I think such projects will have a redressal mechanism where creditors, either lenders or buyers, will complain.
Come together.
And there will be a redressal mechanism in finding a replacement developer. Somebody who will replace this existing developer, for which there will be 2/3 consent of the buyers required and a state regulator approval will be required. And all customers who have already bought will definitely agree to a good developer if he is taking over. Now, if there is not enough receivable left to complete the balance cost of construction, I think the only redressal mechanism I can think of is existing customers have to get in more money to complete it.
The last 10%.
Just to add, even promoters are personally liable.
No, I know that.
So if there is no money left in the project, you may tomorrow see scenarios where you're actually holding the personal accounts of a promoter liable and he's required to fund in projects.
My question was more that if the government needs to look more at formulating a system where the end solution is met, the project is completed where the consumer gets his house or gets value out of the project. It shouldn't just become a witch hunt and, you know, it just
absolutely
a ball of litigation.
I have one technical question, frankly.
Go ahead.
I mean, unregistered project, but the developer says, I now don't want to sell. I will now sell after the project is completed. Does it, because you need registration under RERA only if you want to sell. If I don't want to sell, then it does not require registration. I'm not breaking the law.
No, I don't think that's a view that we taken because you've already gone to the market. So
but that was prior to RERA.
I agree that's a gap that is there, but eventually when it comes for interpretation, it will be taken in a manner that you have. So the people who are there in the building are technically allottees. They fall within the definition of allottees as has been defined by RERA. So then there is no escape for him.
But so there was no RERA as on 1st May 2017.
No, I agree, but the people who bought properties in the building have qualified to become allottees under the definition of allottee under RERA. That's why he will be required to register. I agree, but that's a gap in the Act.
You can escape that if you are starting a new project and then you decide to only sell on completion.
If there is no sales.
Yeah. So if you're going to complete it and then sell it, then it's fine, which one large builder in NCR says he will do. They will fully complete and then sell. I hope so. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
For joining me on this panel discussion.